Welcome everyone to the 106th meeting of BKC Fireflies. We are a young club, as Sai just mentioned. We are just 3 years old, and in those 3 years, we have managed to notch up some very interesting achievements. Being a young club, that means we're always looking for other people to support in addition to our members. You'll always find a speaking slot or an evaluator role or any other role at BKC. Just let me know beforehand. We'll be happy to accommodate you. Some housekeeping rules that I need to announce. Please keep yourselves on mute, all your mics on mute, including a presiding officer's mic, which is on right now, and your phones and any noise-making devices that you have. Please keep your video on as far as possible, unless you're moving around, then obviously it's a distraction. This meeting is, as obviously it's being recorded. It shall be uploaded on YouTube as well. In case any of you have any objection, please let us know. The only suggestion that I can offer is we either ask you to bounce off from the meeting, or we'll be asking you to stay on mute all the time. Please, we'll respect one of our earlier general evaluators' comments. Please refrain from using the chat option for everyone, unless it is a message that is indeed related to everyone. If it's a one-on-one message, then we would urge you to message only that one person. The Toastmaster mission statement is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and unending personal growth, as some of us can attest firsthand. Coming to BKC Fireflies, we are an interesting club. Our club motto, in addition to the Toastmasters mission statement, is to laugh a little, learn a little, laugh a little, learn a lot, laugh a lot, learn a little, or laugh a lot and learn a lot. And you'll find this repeating across our meetings. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a great man called Division Director Akshay Singh. And there you have him smile. And he will smile even wider when you introduce him as Seedhe Saadhe Akshay. Akshay, welcome to our club. I think it's the first meeting that you're attending as the Division Director, I guess.
Yes.
Welcome once again. We hope to live up to your exacting standards.
Right.
On that note, let me hand over the stage to our presiding officer, who is a chartered accountant, who is a lawyer, who is a photographer, who is a Trekkie, who is a food blogger, and who just recently relocated to Canada. And she's, as you can see from her face, she is sleep deprived. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for a presiding officer, the one and only Vyoma Rao.
Thank you. Thank you so much for such warm introduction. It sort of woke me up. Okay, he's talking about me. It gave me a lot of time while you were telling about the fact that I was a chartered accountant, a lawyer, a Trekkie, blah, 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 blah. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's wonderful to start my day like this in an active manner. And yes, I used to do a lot of things out of those, but because of Canadian winters, you are like restricted to your house. And I really can't wait for the summers. I now realize what is the fad about summers that people in the Western world have. So with that, I would like to, first of all, invite you for the 106th meeting of BKC Fireflies. We have a lot of prepared speeches today, so it's going to be very, very interesting. Hang on till the end. We'd love to listen to you, your feedback of how the whole meeting went. We are a very energetic club and a very closely held group of people, because it's a small club and we pride ourselves on the fact that it's easier for us to, in terms of seeking our education goals, in terms of seeking our goals as a speaker or leader, it's easier for us to understand how we can help each other. And it's also easier to get speaking slots. So whenever you want to get a speaking slot, please reach out to Toastmaster Cyril. He'll be more than happy to have you. And also, if you are interested in writing a blog and getting it published on our website, you can reach out to our VPPR, Toastmaster Sai, and he'll guide you how you can create an article and refine it and finally upload it on our website. So thank you very much. I'd like to speak to a few guests and start with Toastmaster Akshay. So hi, Toastmaster Akshay. What are your expectations from today's meeting?
Thank you, Vilma. I'm looking forward to this meeting number 106 of BKC Fireflies.
Sorry, it's not morning in India, right? Why are you so kawa?
It's evening time. I'm almost tired after a long day of work. But again, I'm hoping to have an exciting meeting at BKC with 106. Looking forward to observe, as today I'm filling in the shoes of my area director and your area director, Parvati. She has some educational commitments to fulfill. So I'll be here observing her area director visit to your club. Hope today to have an exciting meeting and get an opportunity to participate somehow in the table topics round. If it is there, or else I'll consider this opportunity right now to speak and wish you everyone a little learning, a lot of laughter, because I know at PKC you have Cyril, so he'll definitely make you laugh from now and then. So a lot of learnings they will be able to us, and I wish everyone the best when they are speaking on the stage, because that's what the best part of this square box which we are in. So all the members who are not on video, I would urge you to be on video, because then you will be able to laugh, and then the Cyril knows that you have laughed a lot over here and definitely learned something. That will do.
Yes, absolutely. I would love for everyone to be on video. I pick people who are not on video so that they'll have to switch it on. I think I want to talk to Toastmaster Priscilla. Can you come on video, please?
I think the host has stopped my video.
Oh,
I don't think I did. Let me request you to turn on your video.
okay. Meanwhile, I can ask you what brings you here. One is your role as an evaluator, but what was it that you were expecting out of a BKC Firefly meeting?
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me here. I belong to the Millennial Toastmasters Club, and we are a fairly new club. So when I got the opportunity, I said, I would like to see how other clubs are operating, and also taking the opportunity to fellowship with other clubs as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Priscilla. I hope you enjoy the meeting. Please stick around till the end. We'd love to get your evaluation on the overall meeting. So please be here. We have Toastmaster Sahil. There's so many new faces. It's so nice to see everyone. Toastmaster Sahil, what gets you here? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
I think Priscilla just made the whole point very crisp and clear. I think it's very good to understand how the other clubs are functioning as well, and obviously increase a little bit of fellowship amongst other clubs as well. I come from the Mumbai Toastmasters Club.
Okay. Oh, great. So we have a lot of people from Mumbai Toastmasters Club here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start on time, and I'm going to take the introductions bit by bit, or maybe interact with rest of the guests at the end. I hope all of you have a wonderful meeting and enjoy the prepared speeches that we have lined up today. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the TMOD of the day, the techie of our group, the VPPR at BKC Fireflies. I'd like to introduce Toastmaster Sahil. Over to you.
Thank you very, very much, Madam Presiding Officer. And give me one quick moment while I make our Sergeant at Arms a fellow co-host of the meeting, so that as people are strolling in, they can. How do I find Cyril? He's one of those people who are wearing 1,500 hats. So make co-host. That part is done. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The theme I've selected today is, do your emails sound like this? And you must be wondering, why does this guy want to talk about emails? Because emails have been around for a long time. And the kind of people who send emails are people like me with white in their beard. All the rest of us
all the rest of you have Instagram, Snapchat, Slack, carrier pigeons maybe, who knows? But the fact still remains that there are multiple modes of communication that the world has evolved towards. So why discuss emails? Well, to get there, I want to run a quick trivia quiz. Do you see these numbers around me? There is, oh, sorry, let me start with the pointing fingers in the air is kind of hard. Okay, what is that number? What is 44x? Can anyone tell me? You can please unmute yourself and start talking. In fact, let's start with something simple. What is 1971? All right, I don't think
it was invented. The time when internet was invented.
Very close, very close. It's the first time an email was sent. Close enough.
Email.
You need the internet to send the email. So the internet was probably a couple of days before, a little while before that. But 1971 was the first time an email was sent. It was not received, but it was sent. It's like one of those emails which go off into the ether and you never know where it goes. What is sorry, wrong finger. What is 44x? Does anyone know? 44x is how much ROI you can get on marketing emails. If you think that your Instagram posts have lots of engagement, it has nothing on email. It costs you $1 to send an email and you can earn $44 on top of it. So imagine that. All the hard work you do to choose the right filter, make sure that your selfie pose is perfect, and maybe you choose the right person to Snapchat with because you want to engage with them. And you could have earned all that ROI by simply sending a lot of emails. Imagine that. Sorry, again, I keep pointing the wrong way. What is this? What is 300 plus?
Number of days that I don't work.
300 plus companies, maybe.
Number
Any
of
other?
unopened emails on your Outlook.
You would be right, because the number is far more than that. 300 plus is 300 plus billion emails sent out every single day. Check your inbox. If you've received roughly 40 emails today, you're the reason. You and all the other 8 billion people on earth are the reason why these many emails get sent out every day. 300 plus billion emails sent out every day. There is more trivia. There are 4.6 billion email accounts in use at this moment. 4.6 billion. We have 8 billion people on earth. Let's just assume that half of them are kids and they're either too busy to have emails or whatever. They're too busy making noise outside. The rest of us, all of us have email addresses in this room. I'm pretty sure of that. So that is the reach of emails. But the impact of emails is this, wrong way. The impact of emails is this number, 44x. And there are a lot of things about email that people have not considered. For example, when you send a chat message, you run the risk of somebody turning on disappearing messages on WhatsApp. And then after a couple of days, that message goes away. Or for example, if you have Snapchat and you send a really important stuff on Snapchat and somebody takes a screenshot, you get notified on that. So you can't keep things secret if you want. Then let's say Slack. There are so many channels and so many things to keep track of on Slack that makes it hard to use Slack for communication. But email is like one of those workhorses that has been around forever and will probably be there during the heat death of the universe. The last thing that will happen is that the last email server will go down, and that's it. That's the end of the universe as we know it. And we all will feel fine. Anyway, now that we've discussed a little bit about the importance of emails and when it was started, what ROI, where's my finger? What ROI you can expect and how many emails you can expect to receive. Let's discuss what the flow of the meeting is going to be for the people who don't know much about Toastmasters and think that this might be a place where we only give gyan and don't have any growth. The Toastmasters meeting is split up into 3 segments, out of which we'll be covering 2, I think, today. Time permitting, we'll have the third one. We'll see about that. The three segments, which a typical meeting has, but we might not, is the prepared speeches, which is what's going to happen next. Then there is table topics, which we will probably have to drop because we have more than the usual number of speakers. And finally, we have evaluations where speakers are evaluated on the quality and content of their speech. So that's the flow of the meeting. And all this is supported by a team of evaluators taking care of different aspects of the meeting. So I'm going to start with the R counter. I'm going to spotlight our R counter, who will explain to us what his role as the R counter is going to be like.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, Sahil. So I'm the R counter today. So I'll be looking out for some clutch words like and many more and phrases. I'll be noting down these words and I'll be making a note of it, and I'll be revealing the report to the general evaluator when asked upon.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Saurabh. That is a crisp explanation of your role. Let's move on to the general evaluator, who's going to be Toastmaster Cyril. Once again, if I can find him. Wait, did I say general evaluator? I'm so sorry. I meant the grammarian. Let me spotlight Cyril.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Sai. As a grammarian, my role is twofold. Number one is to pay close attention to all uses of language, the great and not so great, and to make note of each of these and put this report up whenever called by the general evaluator. It's also my responsibility to give the word of the day. The word of the day, in line with, I hope, what Toastmaster Sai would be covering, is FAUPA. It's written as FAUXPAS, and it's one of the most mispronounced words in common usage. Fox-pass is how people normally pronounce it. FAUPA means a goof up, a blunder that you obviously commit, usually in a wide setting, a social setting where there are several people around. The second part of the definition is not really needed. I could probably commit a faux pas by calling it fox pass in this setting. Faux pas is the word of the day. I'll put it up on the chat. I encourage all of you to use the word of the day, faux pas, in your conversations. Back to you, TMOD.
Yes, it is a faux pas to pronounce faux pas as faux pas, Mr. Grammarian of the Day. You need to owe your faux pas, just so you know. Or at least that's what I'm sure Toastmaster Vyoma is going to tell us that when she goes to Montreal enough and she listens to enough French, she'll be like, yeah, it's called faux pas, guys. You don't know how to pronounce faux pas. That's how it's going to be. All right. I'm going to call up Toastmaster Toastmaster Vyoma up next to explain to us the timing rules of the meeting. Toastmaster Vyoma, go ahead and give us an overview of what you plan to do for only the speaking section. I'll be calling you back for other sections later.
Perfect. So my role as a timer for the prepared speeches is that I'll be showing the green, yellow, and the red cards. And if you keep speaking after the red card, it'll be a faux pas on your end. Would it be? Okay. So the prepared speeches usually run for 5 to 7 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, I'll be showing the green card. At the 6-minute mark, I'll be showing the yellow card, and the 7th minute will be the red card. You have 30 seconds grace period, post which you will be disqualified. Today, we have a lot of prepared speakers, and I hope all of you are qualified for the voting. So with that, I'll hand over back to the TMOD.
Thank you very much, timer. But please do keep in mind that for prepared speeches, there's a grace period on either side, which means that if you finish between 4 minutes, 30 seconds and 5 minutes as well, you do qualify for voting. So please don't ignore speakers who speak less than the allotted time, as long as the amount less is less than 30 seconds. It's a little complicated to say, but make sure that you don't reject people who speak less than their allotted time. Moving right along, we are going to move to prepared speeches. So there are some speakers in this room. I'm sure all of them have spent, and that's part of the rise, the ethics of being a Toastmaster, have spent a good amount of time preparing and polishing and refining their speech so that their speeches can connect with the audience in front of them, just like we should with our emails, right? Our emails, which go out, need to make sense. They need to have an introduction, a reason for why the email is going out to the recipient. They have to have a call to action, a thing that the other person is supposed to do. And a lot of these things that you do in a speech are also relevant to your life as an emailer, as an office jockey. So those things are similar, but let me not derail from our speakers. But let me just remind our speakers that you are expected. I'll be calling each of the speakers and asking them what they their biggest email faux pas are. So Toastmaster, speaker number one, Toastmaster Rohit, please do prepare for that. And while Toastmaster Rohit is getting warmed up, remembering all those moments when he made a mistake over email, I'm going to call his evaluator, who happens to be, I don't know.
Toastmaster Cyril, right here.
Oh man, is there something Cyril cannot do? Let me call up Toastmaster Cyril to explain to us how he plans to evaluate Toastmaster Rohit.
Thank you. My target speaker, Toastmaster Rohit, is giving his L1P2 speech, L1P3 speech. The objectives of the speech is for the target speaker to practice using vocal variety and body language. It's a second time attempting this. He's got the comments from the previous evaluator, and he's already got the comments from the previous evaluator, the first iteration of the speech, and he will be working them in on this speech. All the very best to Toastmaster Rohit. Timer, please note the speech would be timed between 5 to 7 minutes. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Toastmaster Cyril, I made a faux pas. I booted you off the main stage a little too soon. Sorry about that. But while I have the attention of the audience, let me quickly ask the timer how she plans to indicate that the time has been completed. Will she be changing her background, or will she be sharing a screen? Toastmaster Vyoma?
I'd prefer sharing a screen, but if everybody is comfortable, I could share the background as well.
Let me ask the speaker, actually. The speaker has a...
So Vyoma, I won't like to have shared screen. So background would do, or otherwise you put the timing in chat. Either
Perfect.
of the
I'll put the timing in the chat.
Yeah.
All the best.
And are there any background noises coming?
No, your audio check is perfect.
Okay.
Let me get Toastmaster Rohit on screen. Toastmaster Rohit, can you repeat after me? This speech is going to knock your socks off.
This speech is going to knock my socks off.
Not your socks, our socks, because we're going to be so happy with your speech. All right.
Okay.
So tell me this. Tell me of an incident where you made a blunder on email.
When I was new to emailing thing, the couple of emails which I sent was quite rude. So I straightforward order the other person to do a particular task or give me the data like very in a rude manner. So please, I don't use please and all. I need this data, give me.
Oh.
So so once I mailed the senior person, and after mailing, my immediate senior saw the mail and he was like, how come you're being so rude on email? So you have to just ease out, right? Please, kindly, all these words and its synonyms so that your work gets done easily. So that was the worst, newbie incident to emailing.
Yes, it sounds. If I were to receive an email telling me exactly what I needed to do and without any softening words like please and thank you, I'd probably take it badly, especially from somebody I don't know. So yeah, I can see where you feel that was a moment where you had to do a little bit of learning when it came to emails. Anyway, now that we've heard a sob story from Toastmaster Rohit, let's hear a happy story from Toastmaster Rohit. Speaker number one, Toastmaster Rohit Vishwakarma. A trip to Chandigarh. Toastmaster Rohit Vishwakarma.
I have a childhood friend, Siddharth. He always knows that I would always be there for him no matter what. For long, my friend has been making plans to go to the north, Shimla, Narkanda, to witness snow and enjoy the weather. He was making plans not for one, but for 2 long years. One fine day, on a Sunday morning, he calls me up. Hi Rohit, how are you? This time, so it is confirmed. Now you are not ditching this time. No matter what, you have to make it this time, and you cannot afford to miss this. Hey, Siddharth, you fool undergrad, you're still in college. I am a chartered accountant, that too working for an MNC. I have to make time for such trips. I hung up the call. But you know what? Somewhere internally, I also wanted that break, that time out so that I can enjoy. I said, okay, let's see. After a week, one fine day, I woke up, went for a jog, visited Mandir, and was off for office. Near the office, no matter what, a security guy always used to wish good morning during non-peak hours and chala pude, go ahead during peak hours. So once I was off to the office, near the office gate, I saw the security man. In a hurry, I paid the auto wala the fare and got down. The auto went. I was walking towards the office premises full of charisma. And suddenly, I realized that my left pocket is empty. Oh my goodness, my phone. I left the phone in the auto. I hurried back towards the auto and only to find that the auto has vanished in thin air. That was the saddest moment of my life. It was my phone. Oh, sorry, that too an iPhone. And that phone was the latest one. Phone, that too, it was gifted by my brother. No matter what, that was the huge loss that I suffered that day. After a week later, Siddharth again calls me up. Hey Rohit, how do you feel using an Android phone? I was so angry at him that I just wanted to give him a tight slap from the mobile screen. Now what do you want? Hey Rohit, you know our Chandigarh trip, is it still on? Okay, let's say if I say yes to the trip, do you ever think that my mom would allow, my parents would allow? You have lost your phone right now and you want to go on this trip? Rohit, but you earn money, isn't it? So what? If I tell my parents that I earn money, they'll kick me out from the home. Don't tell me all that nonsense. Acha Rohit, I have a plan for you. Why don't you tell your parents that you're going somewhere in Maharashtra, that too for an office trip? Isn't that a good idea? Shut up. I hung up the phone. At that moment, I felt, yeah, actually, Siddharth has given one of the best advice in his life. And that is when I told my mom that I'm going to Jalgaon. And in fact, I was going to Chandigarh. And after I was going to Chandigarh. So but I actually used this particular trick on me. I being the youngest one in the family. So I told my elder brother that I'm going about the whole trip. And he agreed to it because, you know, at least someone in the family should know in case something goes wrong. And finally, I was off to the trip. When I was boarding the train for the Chandigarh, my mom was continuously calling. I did not pick up her call because I don't want to her listen to while I was on the train, isn't it? So when the train halted at station, I called her up. Hello. At that very moment, a tea vendor came in. Chai, garma garam, chai. Hurriedly, I muted the phone. And I somehow convinced my mom that it was my friend who was making this sound while bringing in tea. That is the time I almost got caught. And on returning back, I told my mom how hectic my office trip was. But later on, somewhere I felt the guilt of betraying my mother's trust. Hence, I decided to confess. That's when my mother told me, you know what? I already knew about this trip way before. I was just waiting for your confession. Because no matter what, your parents are the real superheroes. And they can detect falsehood from miles away. So you must be thinking that I'm a good boy walking on a good path all my life, isn't it? Haha, you are mistaken, my friend, because no matter what, it is always a great achievement to beat your superheroes. To After all, isn't it? But my friends, that's a story for a different day. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very, very much, Toastmaster Rohit. I hope your iPhone is in safe hands now. Maybe not yours, but somebody else's safe hands. We're going to move on to the second speech, but we have a little bit of bookkeeping and housekeeping to do before that. Our third evaluator, the evaluator evaluating Toastmaster Sahil, looks like he's running late. And I have asked, we need an evaluator for speaker number 3. So I've asked Toastmaster Hema if she would be interested in evaluating Toastmaster Sahil, but I don't think I've heard back from her. So Toastmaster Hema, I know I'm asking you in public. I don't give you a chance to say no or yes, but it's up to you. If you can evaluate our third speaker, that'd be wonderful. We're on speaker number 2, so you have some time to catch your breath. And the other thing I want to do is I want to switch the speaking order. So I'm going to ask our fourth speaker to go third, and then our third speaker to go fourth, again, to give ourselves a little bit of room to figure things out. If that's okay, give me a thumbs up, Toastmaster Sandhya, who's speaker number 4, being requested to go as speaker number 3. Do I see Sandhya anywhere? All right. Well, let me kill a little bit of time while people are still figuring out the actual schedule. There are a few things that you need to remember about emails. Remember, the promise I made is that I will make you an emailing hero, which means that your emails will be emails that people will want to read. And it's not just emails that you send to people reporting to you, because they have to read your emails and think you're a hero. Otherwise, they have no chance with you. These are emails that you would send out to strangers. These are emails you send out to people who are higher up the totem pole than you. These are emails you would ask for help on. And how do you make sure that those emails get read? The first thing you need to do, and that's down here. Oh, I did not place that thing correctly. Oh, wait, this one. Where's my finger? There it is. All right, I'm going to move this way. You see this thing that says action required? That's because we all know that, oh yeah, if you put action required in your subject line, things start happening magically. But here's a tip that I can give you to make it even better. If your action required is something like, somebody has to take a survey or somebody has to review a document and give sign off, mention that instead of just action required. Say 2-minute survey or action or and name the person whose action you need. For example, you can say Sai to review or Cyril to delete, something like that, just so that the specific person whose action you need is that he or she has no reason to say that I didn't even know that you sent the email to me. It's in the subject line. Your name is mentioned. If you missed it, that means you've stopped reading your emails. That's basically all it is. All there is to it. Let me reiterate that we need to make a change in the speaking order, and I'm hoping that Toastmaster Sandhya, who's speaker number 4, can go as speaker number 3. Toastmaster Sandhya, are you back in the meeting?
Yes, I am.
Oh yeah, would it be possible for you to go as speaker number 3? We're on speaker number 2 now, so you have one more speaker. You'll be the next speaker.
I can go as speaker number 3.
Perfect. Toastmaster Puneet, any concerns? You're evaluating Toastmaster Sandhya. You've already given me a thumbs up.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
sounds good. So Hema, you're the only person whose answer I'm waiting for, but I give you a little bit of time to think about it. Please check your messages and give me a thumbs up if you're willing to be an evaluator for speaker number 4, Toastmaster Sahil. One tip that I do not see enough people doing, and I think this is going to make you a real star, is this one up here, which says summarize while forwarding. How many times, and this has probably happened to each one of us in this room, you've received this massive email chain with lots and lots and lots and lots of text. And somebody says FYI, and boom, it's in your inbox. And it's now your job to figure out which email and which action item in that, let's call it the Mahabharata of emails, you have to actually look at and take action on. If you want to communicate clearly, your job, and if you want people to respond to your communications in the way you want them to respond to it, your job is to summarize that massive tome into maybe 2 or 3 bullet points. and explain clearly why you think this person needed to be informed and what action they need to take on this email. This, my friends, is not something that you find in many places. Not many books and not many tutorials on writing emails will tell you that you need to do this. But if you do this, this is what is going to set you apart in your office, because people will know that when an email comes from you, you're not just throwing things over the fence, over the wall at them. They will know that you actually took the time to summarize, you took the time to understand what the actual ask was, and you made sure that you put it in your email itself. Speaking of asks, front load your CTA. CTA, of course, everybody knows, call to action. Front load it. Don't say, because our manager needs data download for last month's metrics, please share the link to the dashboard or something. Put that up front. Please share the link to the dashboard. And subsequently, you can say things like, oh, because person X or person Y needs that information and I don't have it. I need you to find it for me and give it to me. Front loading it makes, if people don't really need to know some piece of trivia about why you need something from them, they'll just act on your request and move on with their life, and you'll be making their life simpler. The point of sending information and instructions to somebody else is to get them to take an action. And if you give them a lot of fluff prior to asking them to do something, even if you think that you're doing the right thing, because you could be emailing a superior, you could be emailing the CEO of the company. If you do those things and you keep adding fluff in that email, they're not going to know what to do. So my advice to you is, summarize first and make sure that your CTA is up there in the second sentence after your hello, or if you don't want to put a hello, don't put a hello, but make sure your CTA is right in the first sentence, what you want them to do. And that's what's going to make you a champion communicator. And one bonus before we get on to the second speaker is for people who are interested in sending cold emails to people, like, for example, if you're requesting somebody to be a mentor, or you're requesting someone to maybe become or see if you can work at somebody's company, though it's not always the case that you can ask for a job on email. Or you could be sending emails to pitch your product or pitch yourself as an individual. Here is a bonus trivia for you. The last one, the cold emailing bonus. Can you see it? Sorry, let me do that. The cold emailing bonus, numbers, facts, and figures. I don't know why it is, but numbers people trust. Like I'm going to throw a statistic out to you. 71% of emails with numbers make sense to people. I'm making it up. But the fact still remains that if you send an email, which is only about you and what you can do for them, they're going to ignore it. But if you throw in a fact in there that 20% of the people who read my email, or I can add 5,000, I can grow your revenue by 2x. It might not even be true 100% of the time. You might have achieved that 2x revenue growth for one customer out of 10. But the fact still remains that you threw in the number 2x, or you threw in the fact that you're a student at IIT Mumbai and you need to get a job, and you're during your internship, you interned with some company, and that company loved your work so much that they offered you a starting salary of, I don't know what IIT Mumbai students get. Let's call it 5 lakhs per annum or something. So if you do those numbers, if you throw in those numbers, that's when your emails, people ignore everything else and they say, oh, I can trust this number. Does this number make sense? If the number makes sense, then you make sense. And if you make sense, your email gets actioned on. So these are a few things you can do to go from email zero to email hero or Hiraman. There's a lot of talk to tell you to get you to this point where you're now tired of me and you want to listen to the second speaker. Let me call up on stage the evaluator for the second speaker, Toastmaster Priscilla Chetty. Toastmaster Priscilla, how do you plan to evaluate our second speaker?
Thanks so much, Toastmaster of the day. Good evening, my target speaker, Toastmaster Srushti Makwana. Toastmaster Srushti is delivering her level 2 project 2 speech. The purpose of her project is for the member to practice the skills needed to connect with an unfamiliar audience. And Toastmaster Srushti's topic today is, are you okay? Are you okay, Toastmaster Srushti? All the best, Toastmaster Srushti.
Thank you so much.
Let me find Toastmaster Srushti. There she is.
Yeah.
Toastmaster Srushti, let me do a quick audio video check with you. Your lighting is the top of your head is not visible. Is there any way you can change your lighting?
I don't
If
know.
you're
This
comfortable
is
with
the
it, be
only,
comfortable with it. Doesn't matter.
it's visible, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
I'm
visible.
fine with it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Toastmaster Srushti, please repeat after me. I love macaroons.
I love macaroons.
Your audio is perfect when you said macaroons. I can see the passion for macaroons coming through.
I'm a sweet tooth. Okay.
Speaker number 2, Toastmaster Srushti. Are you okay? Are you okay, Toastmaster Srushti?
Good evening, everyone. I want to start with a question. How many of us have taken a body checkup at least once? I assume most of all, everyone. We keep a track of our cholesterol, sugar, vitamin D, B12, and it's good to take care of the body. But what about the mental checkups? As per the World Health Organization, India is facing a serious mental health crisis with an estimated 56 million people suffering from depression and 38 million from anxiety disorders. There was another survey conducted by the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences that released that the incidence of mental illness is roughly 1 in every Indian. And this was conducted in 2016. That was pre-COVID. So you can imagine the numbers now. But we still tend to ignore them, either due to lack of awareness or due to a stigma that the society holds for mental illness. One of the surveys, again, that was conducted by the Live, Love and Laugh Foundation concluded that 67% people associated mental illness as retarded. Humans are just so fond of classification and judging people. And just as we don't start with physiotherapy, like if I have a broken arm or a fracture, can I just start with physiotherapy the next day? No, right? I will give it time. I will let it get cured. I will give time to heal it. And then so that it functions properly, I'll take a session of physiotherapy. Same way, when a person is dealing with mental illness, meditation or just watching motivational videos don't help. The first step is to get the right treatment, release the toxins, release the fears, and then as a better lifestyle, include meditation and maintain a stable mental and emotional state. Now we'll go through some examples from our daily lives, which would indicate some mental or behavioral disorder. Now, the first one, where a 6-year-old child is not very cheerful. He likes to stay alone and doesn't like to go to the playground, which is usual for small kids. But on the other hand, he's good at academics, and in his school report, he gets an A+ in almost all the subjects, but a note from the teacher that he doesn't socialize at all. Now, coming to his eating habits, when he's given a dosa with chutney and sambar, he eats the entire dosa first, then the chutney, and then the sambar. Basically, he doesn't know the concept of mixing, which is seen in his eating habits as well. When the child's mother was informed about this, she simply replied that this is a shy behavior and you cannot conclude anything about its on the mental level. And she made an exclamation that he solves a Rubik's Cube all alone. Now, there is no doubt in the child's IQ or intelligent quotient. He would be a genius. But what about the emotional quotient? If he's lacking somewhere, then why not accept it and seek for professional help? My second example is about OCD or obsessive compulsion disorder. Here, a lady who without fails want to wash the entire family's clothes on her own. She doesn't prefer a washing machine. In the winters, she will wear a sweater, a scarf, but still wake up at 4 a.m. and wash the clothes in the chilled water. She gets restless if she doesn't wash the clothes for a day. This is a case for an obsessive compulsion disorder. There are many anxiety disorders also developed when people who witness their homes getting damaged or distracted after floods or calamities. I remember one of my cousins who had witnessed the flood in Surat, and still he gets those panic attacks when he sees rain. In all these cases, we see the examples of isolation, OCD, and anxiety disorder, and they're considered normal because there's no harmful reaction right now. But you never know if it aggregates, where and how it would trigger and react. If I talk about an extreme case, the murder case of Ryan International School, which happened in 2016 in the Gurgaon branch, a a ninth standard student killed a first standard student who was just 7 years old. And the reason? He just wanted to postpone the exams. He thought that a sensational act like this would either shut down the school or the exams would get delayed. Now, what is the emotional quotient of this teenager that he doesn't even realize that what he's doing, what impact it would have, the empathy, the like emotional well-being of this teenager. Now, based on the intensity or the illness of the disorder, the type of treatment and the specialist is advised. Behavioral changes, as we see, don't happen overnight. Even in the case of this murder case, it's not that all of a sudden this boy would have gone and killed this person. There would have been signals of such similar incidences that have been happened before, which have been ignored. And counseling and clinical psychology treatments can help for such treatments or for such behavioral disorders. If it is true extreme, then they have to go through psychiatric treatment where they are licensed to provide some medicines. While we see some stigma around, especially India, to accept and seek help for mental illness, there are even some famous personalities who have come up and accepted these and treated themselves, which have set an example for people who are following them. Like Jim Carrey went through depression. Johnny Depp had severe anxiety. In fact, at one moment, Johnny Depp had to be accompanied by a counselor at every shoot that he had to take. Anushka Sharma was on medication for her anxiety disorder. So there are such multiple instances of acceptance, but still there is a gap over there. The stigma still lies on a larger scale. And we must understand that brain is an important organ of our body. Just because we cannot see the mental illness, like you see the broken bone, doesn't mean that it doesn't have any detrimental or devastating impact to the individual or to the family. So I would request everyone that please introspect yourself, your behavior, your mental peace, to know if you are okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Srushti. What a thought-provoking speech on a Thursday evening. Can we lighten the mood a little? I would like to ask you if you've had any recent incidences of you making a mistake on email.
So this is not a recent one, but sometimes back, like I usually had the habit of going sequentially when I draft an email. So first I mention all the people whom I want to include, and then I draft the subject and everything. And once it happened that the subject, the draft, the body was just incomplete, and I clicked the send button. Now I know where the recall is, but I just couldn't find out because of that panic thing. And then I realized that first I will draft it, and then I'll include to whomever I want to address the email to.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a problem. You send an email, which is half complete, and your recipients are like, am I missing something? Did the email get corrupted? What is going on? So yes, I can see why that could be a problem. Toastmasters Sandhya, are you ready to take up the challenge of being speaker number 3, of getting a minor promotion from 4 to 3?
Yes, I am.
Great. Let me call up your evaluators, to Toastmaster Puneet Jain, to explain to us how he plans to evaluate your speech.
Greetings, everyone. To answer specifically to your question, of course, based on the objectives. That is how I'm going to evaluate. Anyways, the Toastmaster Sandhya, the better half of Toastmaster Sahil, who have the honor, and I have to be very careful while evaluating. So she's attempting high performance leadership, which is level 5 project 2 or project 1 and she's attempting second speech. So the purpose of her project is for member to apply her leadership and planning knowledge to develop a project plan, organize a guidance committee, and implement the plan with the help of a team. Timer, please know that the time is 5 to 7 minutes with a grace period of 30 seconds. And this is the second speech which she's attempting, and I look forward to provide insightful feedback. And yes, I'm evaluating based on the objectives mentioned. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Keeping it focused. I like that, Toastmaster Puneet. Speaker number 3, Toastmaster Sandhya Krishnan.
Master of the day, before I start, can I request you to please give me access to share my screen?
I will do that.
Thank you.
Yes, you're all set. Speaker number 3, Toastmaster Sandhya Krishnan. Project pressure. Project pressure, Toastmaster Sandhya Krishnan.
You want me to share the screen for the timer cards?
I'm not sure what is happening. Let me see if Toastmaster Sandhya. I think she's left the meeting somehow.
Toastmaster Pranav is in the room.
Yes, I did see that. When I let him in, I was like, yes, saved by the bell, like literally the last minute available. So Toastmaster Pranav, welcome. We've rearranged the speaking order just to make sure that we gave you a little bit of time to make it to the meeting if you could, and looks like you did, which is great. We're going to have speaker number 3 go as speaker number 4. Speaker number 4 is now up on deck as speaker number. Let me rename Sandhya once more. One quick second while I get this sorted out and promote Sandhya back on the stage, on the main stage. All yours, Toastmaster Sandhya.
Thank you. Sorry about that technical glitch. I lost connection. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Nicky Gumbel, an English priest, has famously said, "Don't be afraid of pressure. Pressure is what transforms a lump of coal into a diamond." My project on organizing the Kahani event for BKC Fireflies was nothing less than a pressure project. I call it a pressure project. No, not because I was pressurized into doing it. I was very happy to do it because the club was organizing this event for the very first time in its history of 4 years, almost 4 years. The pressure was not even because I had a boss who would give me stringent deadlines. I was in fact very lucky to be guided by the very charming VP of E, the timer for today's meeting, Toastmaster Cyril Paul. He guided me through all the rules of the event that was prescribed by District 98. It was a pressure project because it was a race against time. Let me rewind it to not so much in the past, to 25th of January 2023, around 9 p.m. Toastmaster Cyril, the VPE of our club, and I were having a WhatsApp conversation about how I had not given a speech in a very, very long time. I confessed to him that I had been procrastinating my next assignment because it was a big one. I had to lead a project and deliver a speech based on my experience of leading that project. I told him, look, I do not have a time to do a project of a massive scale. Aren't my professional and personal projects not enough? Professionally, I had a full-time job as a professor at a university. And personally, I had Project Baby. Yes, I'm a mother to a 2-year-old child. But it was then that the VPE himself suggested that I have a project for you, Project Kahani, because BKC Fireflies is planning to organize its very first storytelling contest. I was excited. I told him, yes, this could be my project. But I had not thought of what would be the roadblocks. To be honest, I didn't stumble upon too many roadblocks, but the main roadblock was the paucity of time. Like I said, it was the 25th of January at night that we were having this conversation. And it happened that before the 15th of February, the club had to finish conducting the contest. So I pulled up my socks and I started contacting people. My first task was to get participants to the event. So I there put out a message on our WhatsApp group asking all my fellow club members to participate in the storytelling contest. I kept checking my messages throughout the day. Not one single response. The next day, not one single response. The third day, one response I got. Yes. One club member said, I would like to participate. Yay. But how do we have an event with just one participant who's going to narrate the story? I had to change my strategy. Personalization works. I started texting each club member personally, telling them about the storytelling event and asking them to participate. This worked. In the next 2 days, I had 5 club members who signed up to participate in the event. Now I went back to my guidance committee, Toastmaster Cyril Paul. I told him, yes, we have 5 people who signed up as participants. Our next task was then to find the role players. We needed a timer, a Zoom master, and judges who would vote the event. Toastmaster Sahil, the Toastmaster of the day, and Toastmaster Cyril himself were kind enough to take up the roles of the Zoom master and the timer respectively. Toastmaster Cyril, who, like I said, also was my guide for this project, was very gracious to pass me contacts of people whom I could contact to be the voting judges. I contacted a dozen of experienced Toastmasters from outside of BKC Fireflies. Luckily, in the next 2 days, 3 of those agreed to be the voting judges, and we had a number, the minimum number needed for the voting judge. And there we go. Yes, we were all set for the contest, is what I thought. But after having decided the date of the contest, I come to know just the very next day that my 2-year-old son had his first sports day event of his play school, his very first sports event of his life. And it happened to be the same day as the event. I could not miss his sports day for anything else. What do I do? Luckily, I was able to manage the time. His sports day happened in the first half of the day, and we had the Kahani event in the second half. Because of some efficient time management, we were able to cross this hurdle. The next hurdle was a few hours before the event. 2 participants texted me saying, "Hey, look, I don't think I will be able to participate. I feel extremely underprepared." I had to again get my convincing skills there. I convinced both of them. Look, participation is the key. It's okay if you feel underprepared. Just come there and tell us your story. The time limit is not very long. You just need a small story. Come on, you would have had so many stories in your life. Just narrate them. Narrate one of those stories, one of those most memorable stories of your life. Luckily, I was able to convince both of those participants to compete in the event. Finally, we had 4 participants out of 5 who had signed up. We had 4 who participated in the event, and the final event went on very smoothly without technical glitches, although it was an online event on Zoom. So what were my lessons from this role that I took up? When I look back at 12th of February, that is when the event happened, I'm happy that I took up this role of organizing the storytelling event for BKC Fireflies. Given the paucity of time with which the event was organized, there could have been several instances for faux. But after we decided on the date, like I said, my son's sports event happened. Some participants refused to participate. But in spite of this, the event went on smoothly. My message to you, fellow Toastmasters, is that never be afraid to work under pressure. There will be roadblocks, there will be hurdles, but there will also be breakthroughs. The sweetest feeling at the end of some hard work is when that hard work pays off. My efforts under pressure paid off as the Kahani event went off smoothly, and we had a winner who will be representing BKC Fireflies at the next level of the Kahani event. Toastmasters, I am going to leave you with some very, very nice pictures of the event so that you get a glimpse of what really happened. And I will share my screen for that. So these were the lovely participants who participated at the Kahani event. These were the people who helped me organize the event, Toastmaster Paul, Toastmaster Sahil, and we also had a guest for the event. And these were the 3 deserving winners of the event, Toastmaster Pranav, Zareen, and Toastmaster Rohit. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Speaker Sandhya Krishnan. Let me bring myself back on spotlight. Let me quickly do a situation check. Evaluator 4, Pranav, are you ready to evaluate our next speaker? If you are, let me put you on spotlight and have you explain to us how you plan to evaluate our speaker.
Hi, good evening, Toastmaster Sahil and the rest of the group. I'm sorry, I was just going to request that I have missed the evaluation resource because I've been very unwell and I had overslept because of the medication. So can I request Toastmaster Sahil to tell us what his project title is, and I'll also just quickly get access to the evaluation resource. I apologize for this.
That's perfectly fine. Let me actually take back control of the meeting. So Speaker Sahil, if you could quickly put in chat what your speech title is so that Toastmaster Pranav has an idea of what you're going to do. I will take this minute while you're getting sorted, all that information sorted out and exchanged to explain a little bit more about emails while this is happening. Let me forward this evaluation resource to Pranav. Oh man, Cyril, can you forward that in the evaluation?
It's already done. Already done, sir.
Thank you. Perfect. Awesome. So yes, while all this is happening, let me quickly tell you what include next to people is. If you want your people who don't need to be on an email, just roll them off using BCC. That's the most polite way of doing it. You just don't drop people without telling them. Just put them in BCC and say, I'm rolling off person X, Y, and Z from this email chain because they don't need to be informed about everything that's happening here. That's the most polite and simple way of doing it. Is make sure you mention it so that people are not confused when they look for specific people in the email list and they're not there anymore. So that's the right way to do it. Toastmaster Sahil, are you all set to be speaker number 4?
Am I visible?
It's a little bit hazy. If you could turn off blur, maybe that'll help.
Okay, 1 second. Give me a second. Settings. Now, is it better? I think it's the webcam. It's a little blurry. The webcam is a little blurry itself.
I think we're okay. We can see you, we can hear you. So let me just quickly do an audio check in there. Oh, what happened to the video?
No, 1 second. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's okay, right?
Right. So Speaker Sahil?
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 4, Toastmaster Sahil. An unfinished love letter. Unfinished love letter, Toastmaster Sahil.
How many of you love doing something in your younger years, but have now lost touch? I can see a few. Today, I'm going to speak about my first love, music. I'm sure some of you expected an unrequited love story, but let me assure you, this is a different kind of a love story. Music has always been very close to my heart. As a shy kid, I wasn't very comfortable expressing my own emotions, sometimes even to myself. But I used to always find a poem or a music that exactly summed up my whole emotion. Music was a part of my life at different stages in different forms. In my infant years, my first memories are of my mother's composing my own lullabies. All of these lullabies had one thing in common. They were all about me. I'll not lie to you. A few of them were plagiarized, but the innocent me didn't know. These lullabies were my incentives for almost everything. Whenever I didn't sleep, whenever I didn't eat, or I didn't take a bath, these used to get me done. This used to get the job done every time. Next, I even tried to learn an instrument, the Casio. I became an amateur player after some time. But one day my teacher came and she started teaching me chords, playing 2 instruments, 2 fingers at a time. Seeing that, I said, this is not my expertise. And for that reason, I'm out. And after that, I never stepped foot. How many of you in your teenage years wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a software engineer? Well, I wanted to own my own record label. I wanted to discover and launch new talents, become the next T series or the spinning records, if you will. I used to spend hours on SoundCloud listening to different renditions of music, different artists. And I made myself my own coveted playlist. I would have made that into a business model, but Apple Music and Spotify beat me to it. Fast forward a few years, I got busy with my work and my studies. I could not afford the similar time to give, I could not afford to give music the same time as before. It started gradually. I started discovering new artists, but focused just on the top artists and the albums. That shifted to just listening to top songs from these artists. Little did I know, I started listening to just the top 20 curated from Spotify. In college, I used to diss people who used to listen just the top 20, and now I was one of them. Oh my God. I should say to myself, okay, you don't have time, you're busy with work. How can you afford so much time in music? It's okay, thousands of people do it. It's not that bad. Or so I thought. Slowly, this started affecting my life. There's nothing really wrong with my life, but I became more distracted and disinterested every day. At a point, my schedule was go to college, go to work, eat some food, and go to sleep 6 days a week. I couldn't pinpoint at anything wrong because I had friends in college to hang out with. My colleagues were half bad, and but still, I felt directionless. I even consulted a doctor. Like, doctor, why do I feel such lethargy? His one word diagnosis: stress. Beta, stress reduce kar do. I'm like, okay. This went on for a while. One fine day, I decided to go to the beach with my earphones on and just listen to music. I started scrolling to YouTube from one genre to another. And in some time, I started discovering the old passion of discovering new music. Little did I know 1 hour had passed, but still I wasn't tired. I spent another hour doing the same thing. When I reached home, I was excited and contented. I tried the same thing uh, multiple times that week, and I had the same result. After that, I started dedicating some time to music, and I found out that I was as energetic as ever. My my personal concerts in the bathroom started again. I don't know how to explain this, but somehow music declutters my brain. It rewires my brain and helps me think again. I would say somehow it helps me. It becomes my stress buster. So every time I had a hard day's work, or I hadn't finished my study targets, or I fought with someone, I should just grab my earphone and return to the beach. I think all of us have that one activity that helps us declutter our brain. I call it the activity that helps you meditate. Meditation is not just sitting in a corner, controlling your breath in and out, but it is everything and anything that helps you focus on only one thing. It hones your attention. You can make your own bubble, and you are the sole master. Today, Toastmasters, I'd like to urge you to take a moment and find out what is that activity that inspires you and that elates you. It can be running, going to the gym, dancing, reading, singing, or even giving a speech here at Toastmasters. I found my inspiration in music. So whenever I get the time, even in the busiest days, I take 30 minutes out every day to either run, walk, or even dance to music blasting in my earphones. I never miss my Sunday evening walks on the beach just to recap the whole week with earphones playing whatever artist I fancy that week. I deliberately started walking for short distances so that I can include that extra 15 minutes of more music. I hope you too can find your inspiration and give it the love and affection that it deserves. And you start also writing your own love letter. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sahil. That is a wonderful speech and an unexpected love story, a love story between you and your passion of music. In the interest of time, I'm going to move on to our general evaluator. To get her started, I'd asked her to go into a spam box, the spam folder, and pick an email that she thought she wanted to read. So we'll start off with that. We'll ask her to tell us which email in her spam folder she picked to read, and then ask her to proceed with the evaluations.
Okay, so the email that I picked, first of all, I have like 80 mails in my spam. This I consider good because there was a time when it used to be like 800. So the email that I picked was the title says, the subject line says, "Get help navigating toxic energy." And it's sent from an ID called info@mail.astrology.com. And when I opened to read it, it showed something about toxicity and how it helps us to connect. And when I click on the link, it asks me to buy a premium astrology service. So I did not do that. That's why it's in spam. Yes. Moving on. Good evening, everyone. I'm Meenakshi. I'm the general evaluator for today's meeting. I come from Agnel Toastmasters Club. My evaluation, as you say, it's a very cliche thing to say that evaluation is the breakfast of champions, but I'm still going ahead and saying that because this is the segment where people get feedback, and that's the segment that you learn the most. So my evaluation will be divided into 3 segments. The first is where I call upon the speech evaluators. The second is the tag team report. And the third is my evaluation of the meeting overall. So moving on, first, I would like to call upon the evaluator number 1, Toastmaster Cyril, to evaluate the speech of Toastmaster Rohit.
Thank you.
Before Toastmaster Cyril starts, should I be giving the timing guidelines?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so the timing guidelines for evaluations is 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I'll be showing or mentioning in the chat as yellow card. Yeah, 2 minutes 30 seconds green and 3 minutes red. There is a grace period of 30 seconds on both sides. Over to you, Toastmaster Cyril.
Thank you. Just 1 second. I see that Toastmaster Pranav has raised a hand.
Yes, can we also have the time taken by the individual speakers as well before we go to the evaluation section?
Absolutely. So the time taken by Toastmaster Rohit was 6 minutes 8 seconds. Toastmaster Srushti took 7 minutes 29 seconds. Toastmaster Sandhya took 9 minutes and 17 seconds. And Toastmaster Sahil took 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Except for Toastmaster Sandhya, everybody qualifies.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Vyoma. Could you just help me spotlighting Toastmaster Rohit on the screen as well? Okay, great. Finally, I get to speak. Toastmaster Rohit, thank you. That was a great story that you gave with some very, very, very relatable events. I think everyone in the audience would have had at least one of those miserable experiences, whether it's making a secret plan and being found out about it, whether it's losing a phone, or whatever, having a very annoying friend. I don't want to name that person, but he's in the room and he knows who that person is. I really enjoyed your speech, right? I noticed that you used no matter what as a catchphrase. You must have used it some 6 times in the speech at various events. That's something which experienced speakers do, having a catchphrase and cleverly diverting attention to it. Great job in doing that. There was a good attempt at vocal variety. I counted 6 characters. There was Sid, there was Rohit himself, there was a security guard, there was mom, there was a chai wala briefly, and there was always a narrator. It's always essential to bring out the narrator's voice as different from all of these, and you did a good job at that. There was very good use of body language. I noticed that you paid attention to what your evaluator had mentioned for the last round. There was good use of hands, and I also noticed you using the screen space that you have, moving here and there, front, back, and all of that. That was really brilliant. Congratulations! I would you've really achieved all the objectives that your current speech has. A couple of places where I thought you could have done better. You started the speech in a rather, a staccato manner. You were like, I have a friend. We go back. It was a little obvious, and when you go through the recording, you'll find this. I would say the first 15 to 30 seconds are when everyone evaluates you mentally as a speaker. Should I be paying attention to this guy or not? So ensure that your start is brilliant. You're just starting on your speaking journey. These are just nuggets for you to pay attention for future speeches. No matter what, the catchphrase that you used, very cleverly placed, it'll help from the next time onwards when you have a catchphrase, try to emote it out. No matter what, depending on the emotion, try to kind of bring out the vocal variety there. It'll always have a better hook into the audience's mind. Internalizing your speech. There was a rather long pregnant pause. Be familiar with your speech. A little bit of practice would really, really help you in getting there. I wish that you had spoken a little more. You stopped when the screen was still yellow. Maybe having a little more attention, to the timing and where you are in terms of your speech, in terms of timing, would really, really help you. These are all things that you can pay attention to your later speeches. Really great job at attempting this speech, and congratulations on passing this level. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. Very well done, Toastmaster Cyril. Excellent evaluation. You specifically mentioned what the objective was and whether the speaker has, passed the particular level, so to say. Great speech, Toastmaster Rohit. I had a similar observation as well, as Toastmaster Cyril mentioned, that you could have started with a bang, with a quote or with a question, something like that. In terms of vocal variety, which was the objective of your speech, it's a very big tick. Like he said, the different characters, you had different voice modulations. When you were talking to your friend, you had this body language. One additional thing which I would want to add, which Toastmaster Cyril didn't mention, was that when you, towards the end, when you confessed to your mother about the secret, and you said, aha, you think I'm a good boy, haha, so there is somewhere you could have had a pause. You think I'm a good boy, a pause, and then say, haha, no, not like that. So great speech otherwise, and congratulations. Moving on to the second evaluator, Toastmaster Priscilla.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Thank you for this very vivid and relatable topic. I think all of us have sometime in our lives had something to do with this very, very big word called mental health. Today, the speaker started a speech with a very, very thought-provoking question. Are you okay? The Toastmaster of the day, our divisional director that's present here with us today, fellow Toastmasters, and our speaker, Toastmaster Srushti. What I loved about your speech was the use of very, very pertinent language that enhanced your message very effectively. The second thing I liked was your very cool and calm demeanor. It gave us an impression that you are okay and that you're in control, and also somehow gave us like you were that counselor or that therapist that a person who was not okay could go to. So kudos to you on that. And the third thing that I liked about your speech was the very relevant message and how it was put forward with relevant self-examples. For example, where you told us about your cousin's anxiety regarding what he experienced during the floods. This gave me a good takeaway from your speech. I related to the message that you were trying to give us. Now, Toastmaster Srushti, how can you take this speech from good to amazing? I have 2 points for you. I am of the opinion that your voice modulation and your body language could have been a little bit more effective. For example, when you asked many questions, rhetorical, it may have been rhetorical, but I feel if you modulated your voice and your body language, made more eye contact with the audience. For example, somewhere along the line, you gave us statistics about mental health, and you then said this was pre-COVID, and you asked the question, can you imagine what the figures are now? But it was in the same tone that you were speaking. So I would have liked to maybe see you say, can you imagine what those figures are now? That would have raised the audience's thought and made them stop and think, yes, because COVID really did mess with us. So those figures must be going through the roof now. So I think that would have been an effective point for you, something to take a note of for future. The second thing that I want to point out, and I would like for you to take note of, is something we call practice spontaneity. So I feel your speech was like so well rehearsed. You learned your speech, all the statistics and whatever, that it almost felt clinical to us. I would like to see a little bit more humanness in your speech, you know, where you identify with the characters and bring more emotion when you're talking. Like when you told us about the murder case at Ryan, like I was like, oh my God, when I heard it. So, I mean, if you gave us that emotion in your voice, in your body language, it would have been all that more better. And in closing, to summarize, I would like to say that I loved your speech. I loved your language. I loved your cool demeanor. If you could polish on the voice modulation, body language, and bringing in a little bit more humanness, I think that would take you from here to here. And I wish you good luck on becoming better and better and becoming a force to be reckoned with. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Priscilla. Great evaluation. Just one thing, I think you ran out of time, so just be mindful of the time. And also one more thing, in the beginning, when you were called to read out the objectives, usually the topic is mentioned by the Toastmaster of the day. So name, title, name is usually done by the Toastmaster of the day. But in this case, you also mentioned that. So that is something you could avoid. Second speaker, Toastmaster Srushti, are you okay? Great speech. You started off with saying that I'm going to ask a question. So that is something you could avoid. You could directly start with the question because that is like stating the obvious because we know that it's a question. You had a very clear call to action where you told us to introspect ourselves. But I would have wanted you to take it one more step ahead as to what should I do to introspect myself, whether I have this anxiety, whether I have this. Although I know that you were a little on the fence for time because it was 7:29. So somewhere you could have tried to adjust, and because I have this question lingering in me, like how do I introspect myself? So that is one feedback from my side. Moving on to our third evaluator, Toastmaster Puneet.
Yes, Madam General Evaluator, am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Can I start? Today we had Toastmaster Sandhya who gave us a 2P project, which is a pressure project. Now here comes the third P, which is Puneet in the form of an evaluator, sharing his insights as to how this speech went about. Sandhya, the objectives of the speech was to share your knowledge about on leadership, organize an event with the help of a guidance committee, and you aced with respect to the objectives of the speech. For example, there was clear guidance committee in the form of Toastmaster Cyril and Toastmaster Sahil, who mentored and guided you in conducting this beautiful event. So great job on meeting your objectives. Second, which I really enjoyed about the speech was a speech title itself, which is the pressure project. And that motherly frustration came out clearly well. For example, balancing between personal life, professional life. Okay, yeah, I mean that the what you can call it, the event, your 2-year-old event, the sports day event. I think that dilemma which you experienced, what you can call it, there are certain challenges which you went through in organizing this contest was brought out really well. For example, my favorite was that when role players, some speakers were backed out, which is a universal phenomenon in Toastmasters, and yet you made an effort to encourage them, bringing out that, what you can call it, motherly affect. I wouldn't use the word affection, but motherly suggestion to motivate your fellow club members was brought out really well. And third, which is the supporting points, which is the pictures at the end. My goodness, I was fan of those pictures. Those clear, beautiful pictures of all the winners and organizing committee clearly brought smiles to my face. Now, you are logically a strong speaker, which is evident from yours, the way in which you structured a simple story, a simple project, which was indeed a very complex to execute. And I think you have a great logical way of structuring things. Now, how to take this speech to a next level? Here are a couple of recommendations. Number one, which you could have easily worked upon, is the timing aspect of it. I genuinely feel like a beautiful speech like yours deserves to be qualified in a club meeting. And I really feel you could have a little bit trimmed out certain sections of your speech, which were a little repetitive. For example, guidance committee, you spoke twice or thrice, I believe. Maybe if you had mentioned just once, it would have done the job. So maybe you could be mindful about the time. Second one, which is borrowing from Toastmaster Cyril's evaluation, and let me add my own flavor, which is emote emotions. For example, you could use pauses. For example, when you are trying to get participants. When I post a message on the group for participants, first day, no response. Second day, no response. Third day, one response. Yeah, I felt like I won the World Cup. I mean, do something which is crazy, which people can, like, that emotions could be transferred in a much more energetic and a cheerful manner. So I think the two speeches which I would recommend you can watch Pranav Vadwane's, one of the ISC's best speech which I have heard, and Toastmaster Cyril's speech, because they know how to emote emotion and you can learn from them. So to summarize, you're a very logically good speaker, met your objectives, you're logically strong, just a little bit on the emotion aspect and timing aspect of it will make your speech to the next level. And I look forward to listening to many such projects from you. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. Great evaluation, Toastmaster Puneet. You covered whatever I had for the speech for Toastmaster Sandhya. The event in itself, like you mentioned, it had a proper structure, even though it was a very specific speech. It had a proper start. You mentioned about the glitches and how you overcame those glitches, and towards the end, what lessons you learned. And for me also, the pictures in the end were a killer. Unfortunately, went out of time. So similar observations. And it also, you started off with a quote, which again was a bang on start. It got me thinking, even I'm the vice president education of my club, and it got me thinking how sly Toastmaster Cyril is. Even I could have done this. I could have given it as a project to somebody instead of running around from pillar to post for conducting the Kahani event at my club. I could have done this also. So great ideas when you come to other clubs. Moving on to our fourth evaluator, Toastmaster Pranav.
Can I start?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sahil, for taking us on this wonderful journey. I believe that your project involved you taking feedback from a speech that you received previously and incorporating that in your speech. I think you've done a very good job crafting this speech and delivering it, because I personally love speeches that are of personal nature, that tells a personal story, because this is something that's near and dear to your heart, and that shines through, especially in the way that you tell your story. So I think that part you've nailed it completely. So kudos to you on that, Toastmaster Sahil. That was a job well done. The second thing that I really liked, Toastmaster Sahil, is that you are a very funny individual. I really enjoyed the two jokes. I don't know whether people got the reference to Shark Tank or no, but that was a great reference. And also I like the part where you mentioned how Apple Music and Spotify have beat you to launching a streaming service. So that I found really funny. So I think you have an innate sense of humor. One quick thing that I also realized is that you missed the chance about when you spoke about you having starting your own personal bathroom concerts. You could have said that, oh, I'd like to invite you also to a live show sometime. That could have been a nice joke. So that's my one small complaint for you. And I think you're a very strong speaker, Toastmaster. You have a great poise. You have a great posture. You have an ability to speak well. But having said that, there are a couple of things which I did feel you can improve upon while delivering your speech. The first and foremost is that while you craft any of your speeches, Toastmaster, you have to remember that you have to prepare for any speech as if it's an ISC competition speech. So you have to ensure that none of your speech sentences or your content is illogical. Like, for example, when you started off the speech, it was great that you started off with a question. It builds intrigue. I appreciate that. But when you start off with a question that says, how many of you have done this? And then you went on to say, I can see a few. No, you couldn't see a few, right? Because I know that I can see you standing so far back and no one's even raising hands in an online meeting. So that simple sentence could be immediately changed to say that I'm sure there are a few amongst us. So what that effectively does, Toastmaster, is that for any trained listener, no, these sentences are very jarring to the ear. And likewise, when you say when you spoke about what the doctor said, beta aap stress kam kar lo. Now that's a Hindi sentence. Now it's okay to use Hindi phrase. Let me translate into English for the non-Hindi speaking audience, because remember it's in English. You're delivering a speech in English, right? So I think that these two things are very, very critical. So I think this is something that you can remember. The second thing I like to point out is on your speech structure. Now, I would like it if you could do the transitions in your speech well. Like, for example, one paragraph of yours started with next, while another paragraph started with a few years later. Now, a few years later could be very simply changed to as I grew older. So that is a far effective transition as compared to a few years later, right? And also when you're delivering your speech, right? I noticed that you started off with your hands like this in front of you. Now, and this is a very simple biohack. Now, whatever hands you start off with in the position, right? When you're delivering a speech, your body will keep getting your hands back to the same position. So you need to start off with your hands at the side, so that you don't end up coming to the same position again and again. These are my few feedback points for you, Toastmaster Sahil. And I know that if you incorporate them, you would do very well in your next speech. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you. Great evaluation, Toastmaster Pranav. And I really loved your attention to detail when you mentioned that, he was standing so far, he couldn't have seen the audience who have raised their hand. So great attention to detail, great observation. Toastmaster Sahil, amazing speech, an unfinished love letter. You started off with a question, so it instantly connected with us, because when you spoke about your passion for music, we could also think about our respective passions, whether it is dance or anything else. And you also told us to connect with that one activity which helps us to declutter. So that is something, you had a very strong call to action, that is find your inspiration with that one activity. And also, I would really appreciate your imagery part of your storytelling. I mean, when you described that every Sunday I go to the beach and I sit there on the sand and listen to music, it was as if like we were also there with you in that beach. So kudos to you for that. With this, I end the segment on the prepared speeches. I would like to call upon the timer, Toastmaster Vyoma, to tell us the time taken by the evaluators.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. The time taken by the evaluators was Toastmaster Cyril took 2 minutes 48 seconds. Toastmaster Priscilla took 4 minutes 33 seconds. Toastmaster Puneet took 3 minutes 22 seconds. And Toastmaster Pranav took 3 minutes 45 seconds. So Toastmaster Priscilla and Toastmaster Pranav do not qualify. Over to you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call upon the R counter, Toastmaster Saurabh, for his report.
Yeah, hi. Can I share my screen? Okay, I'll just share
Yeah,
my
sure.
screen. Yeah. If you can see, the R counter report is pretty explanatory. I mean, the highest number of R's are by Meenakshi and Pranav, which you can reduce eventually. And the majority of the crutch words used is R by most of the members. Rest of it is very less, so it's a good thing. That's it from my side. Thank you. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call upon the grammarian, Toastmaster Cyril, for his report.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Brilliant meeting with some very good use of English language. Some of the phrases that I heard higher up on the totem pole: pressure project, panic attack, the famous catchphrase, and for that reason I'm out. Rhetorical question, going through the roof, running pillar to post. Brilliant uses of some brilliant phrases over there. Great uses of some words that I heard: toxins, poisons in our body. Empathy as distinguished from sympathy. Empathy meaning to understand something, and sympathy is when you feel pity for it. Empathy is a better word to use than sympathy. When someone fumbles, we both empathize and sympathize. Plagiarized, to speak with disrespect to someone. Dilemma, intrigue, interesting figures of speech. Toastmaster Puneet hits the second time that he's here. He's used alliteration, pressure, project, and then there's a third P to it by Puneet. That is a good, that's a very witty way to say that. Emote, emotions, again by Toastmaster Puneet. That's alliteration. To make something more better, it's incorrect use, but then that's tautology over there. Not so great use of language. Vanished in thin air, vanished into thin air. After a week later, I woke up. A week later, I woke up. She made an exclamation. She exclaimed would be better. OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, not compulsion disorder. Murder case of Ryan International. Murder case at Ryan International. That's largely it. They say that you should never correct someone whose pronunciation is incorrect, because it means that person's actually read the word and not heard it. It's a salute to the person's reading habit. But it angers the South Indian in me when I hear someone call it sambar and not sambar. It's sambar, not sambar. Sambar is the animal. Back to you. So, my apologies. Word of the day was used by Toastmaster Sai, Toastmaster Vyoma, and I believe Toastmaster Akshay. Thank you. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you. Moving on to my general evaluation of the meeting. The meeting started on time, and more importantly, I could see the prep that went behind the meeting. The agenda was shared. The role player group was created. Interesting thing, Sergeant at Arms, who started the meeting, Toastmaster Cyril, this was interesting because I haven't seen in other clubs that there is a club motto. So that is something I really take back to my club. Apart from the mission, there was a club motto also. Moving on to the presiding officer, Toastmaster Vyoma, great job done. You actually made people switch on their videos. And I was also tense because I was eating actually, and I had to throw that on the side and switch on my video. So great way to get people interacting with people. You asked people to introduce themselves, but you said that I will do it eventually for the other members. Yes, Toastmaster Sahil.
Yeah, can I please ask that this section be wound up as quickly as possible, because we're running.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. So eventually that introduction didn't happen because of the paucity of time. So at least for the guests, if you could just introduce them, if not the other Toastmasters. Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Sahil, very interesting theme. And the questions that you asked before, a lot of thought went into those questions. And each question was unique because you didn't ask the same question to this people. There were a lot of facts like 44x, 300 plus, 1971. And they were not boring facts, they were interesting. And you also gave a few tidbits as to how to keep the emails more relevant. I can still see those tidbits on your background. And when those things happened, that, you know, the speaker number 3 had to become speaker number 4 and those kind of here and there situations, there was no awkward moment because you handled it very, very gracefully and with poise. Moving on, Toastmaster Vyoma as a timer, very well done briefing. You briefed just before the section, so it was very relevant at that point in time. Just one suggestion is that usually we do not tell after the grace period is over. So for example, for Toastmaster Sandhya, you mentioned that the grace period is over. For Toastmaster Pranav, you mentioned. It was a very good thing that you asked the speaker as to how they want to be shown. How you want them to, whether you want the background or the presentation or on the chat. But I think you did not ask that to the evaluators. So that's why I felt that a few of the evaluators went about time. For example, for Toastmaster Priscilla, you directly mentioned red. You didn't mention green and yellow. So this is something that you could take care of. Toastmaster Saurabh, when you described your briefing about the R counter, you only mentioned the crutch words. You could also mention that repeating words like and so. Although this was mentioned in your sheet, you kept track of it, but you did not mention that in your briefing. Coming to the word of the day by our grammarian, Toastmaster Cyril, very interesting word. You kept it very brief and to the point. Just one suggestion, if you could add origin of the word, because this is not an English word, so you can mention something, a few lines about the origin of the word. And also when you mention the good usage, that this was a good usage, you could actually name the person that this person had used. This was a good usage. So it helps encourage the speaker. That's it from my side. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. I'm going to quickly launch the poll so that I can get everybody's votes in. There you go. Please keep the votes coming. And while that is happening, I'll keep trying to educate you guys in the background about emails. The thing to note about emails is that you should assume that emails are going to be forwarded. So at a previous workplace of mine, we used to be told that if you think that something will appear on the front page of a newspaper, please make sure you don't put it on email. Go walk over to somebody's desk and talk to them there. Do not put it in an email. So that's a tip for all of us. Your emails are going to go out and you're going to have problems if they go to the wrong person and they get forwarded, they get used in a court of law against you. You're going to be in trouble because of that. So if you feel that something needs to be discussed and you don't want the world to know of it 10 years from now out of context, keep it private. The other thing about email is that people, despite the world we're living in, they want things on email, they want receipts on email, they want proof on email. If it's not an email, it didn't happen. The biggest tip I can give you about writing good emails is make it conversational. Don't make it too formal where you say, dear sir, to whomsoever it may matter, those kind of things. Make it like a chat conversation, except it's on email with longer sentences and better quality of English. That's all there is to it. And one tip on emails, which you can take back from Toastmasters, personalize your speech, personalize your emails. Make sure that you read up about the person you're communicating with, you know them well, you're saying things that matter to them. And after that, you'll be good to go. So we have all the votes in, and I can end the poll after I make note of what we have. And while that is happening, I'm going to hand over charge of the meeting back to the presiding officer of the evening, if I can get her on video. I don't seem to have her on video. There you are, Madam Canada. All right, so Madam Presiding Officer, please carry on with the rest of the meeting while I tally the results and hand them over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, for such a wonderful and insightful session. There were so many key takeaways from the session today, and especially I loved the bit when you just covered the camera and there was a bonus point hidden right behind you on the screen. So that was amazing, and I'm going to steal that from you. I'm going to use it. With that, I would like to sort of invite and open the stage for interaction with the guests. We have guest Sandhya. Sandhya, would you like to switch on your mic and speak to us? Tell us what got you here.
Hi, as usual, I'm traveling because this is my travel time. And what got me here is the fact that there is so much to learn in a platform like this, and I would like to continue learning and improve my speech. Right now, as you can see, there's a and ah going on. So improve my speech, improve my vocabulary, improve my grammar, and network with as many people as I can. Thank you.
Most welcome. Thanks for being here and joining us even when you're traveling. It's wonderful to see the enthusiasm. Also, I'd like to now go on and speak with Hema. Toastmaster Hema, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, and the meeting was fantastic. I mean, there was so much to learn. Evaluations were great, even speeches were amazing. So yeah, I'm just glad I'm here. Thank you.
Perfect. So we before I go on and speak to more guests, I'd like to sort of announce the awards for today. The best speaker goes to Toastmaster Sahil. Toastmaster Sahil, congratulations on your speech. You are funny and witty, and we loved and enjoyed your speech. Congratulations. The best evaluator goes to Toastmaster Puneet. Toastmaster Puneet, it was a P for pleasure listening to your speech. I'm adding to the piece. And for the best auxiliary role, it was Toastmaster Cyril as the grammarian, as always. There's no faux pas there. And the primary role player drum roll is Toastmaster Sai, who was a TMOD. He did his role so well. It's a no-brainer. And also Toastmaster Meenakshi, thank you for joining us as an evaluator. There were so many things that you pointed out, especially when you mentioned about the timer cards. It was something that I really forgot for Toastmaster Priscilla, and it was you were like, okay, I got you. I'm not gonna leave that. So thank you for being so candid about it. And now we will go and have some more interactions. I think most of the things that we wanted to discuss are complete. So I would conclude the meeting and then go on with the guest interactions. So everybody who is